What up, guys? So I'm here in Vegas for the CJI 2 event. Day 1 is ended, gonna see day 2 later on. But man, we gotta talk about the controversial taps from day 1. So on my very first day of jiu-jitsu, I remember my coach telling me kind of how to tap properly, which was few things. One, I can tap to their body multiple times. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, something like that. Tapping the mat in the same way. Verbally tapping, which could be saying tap or just yelling. And if you hear someone yell or gurgle or make some crazy noise, you were told to let go. And then as a ref in some matches where, I'd go ref different competitions, I remember it was just sort of, understood that especially with younger people, like that are a little bit more flexible, that sometimes their body is going to be a little bit more Gumby than say ours, right? Because sometimes these young kids, their arms bend back a little bit in different ways, which mine don't do that. My arm would be destroyed and they're completely fine. And it was kind of understood that you're kind of looking for body language too. What are they doing, right? Because sometimes you'd want to step in to save them from harm, but they're not at the end range for them personally, right? And so you're reading for these things. You're reading for the multiple taps, the verbal tap, or you're looking at body language. Is this person, do they look like they're in trouble? Do they look like they're hurt? That kind of thing. That was what I always understood was kind of what you're looking for when it comes to tapping. Now I bring all this up because one of the more controversial moments of the competition on day 1 was Giancarlo versus Taylor Pierman. They're having a good match, they're going back and forth. Taylor gets a bite on a heel hook. He begins to apply pressure, and then Giancarlo takes his hand and he taps the inner thigh and quickly moves it to the other part of the leg. So it wasn't multiple taps in the same place. He goes 1, 2, and it looks like he starts to try to shove the leg. And as he's doing it, there's no audible anything, and his face is stone cold, and he's looking like he's trying to push the legs out. And another day at the office, nothing about his body language would sort of signal that, hey, I'm in trouble. The ref didn't stop the match, but Taylor thought that he tapped. He said, man, he got up and just said, no, this guy tapped. I'm not going to keep going. Even though the ref said go, even though Giancarlo was like, no, I didn't tap, let's keep going. They eventually stopped the match, and they award the win to Taylor. And this is a big deal because at this event, because it's a quintet format, which again, just as a side note, I'm not a big fan of because of all the draws and everything else it creates. Now there's not a lot of submissions, and that puts them even because at this point, Giancarlo had scored a win. Now they're neck and neck with each other. It's a big deal. And so, looking at that, a couple things, right? And first off, what do you guys think? Do you think Giancarlo tapped, or do you think it was just premature? Now, just from my standpoint, just to share, I've talked to Giancarlo a few times. I've had him on the podcast. I've seen him win and lose in competitions. Seems like an honorable competitor from what I've noticed. Could be wrong about that, I guess, but seems like he's on the up and up. And so I don't feel like he would lie about it. Also, Taylor, I genuinely believe he thought that the guy tapped, and he was probably trying to save him from getting his knee hurt, because that's what we do a lot of times as competitors. Sometimes we apply submissions in jiu-jitsu. It's part of our culture. We'll talk about that in a second and comparing it to judo and other sports. But when sometimes you're applying a submission, sometimes you will let go early because you don't want to hurt someone, right? You want to get the win, but you don't want to hurt them, because in jiu-jitsu competitions, there's a lot of aggression, there's a lot of intensity, but there's not a lot of animosity. We don't hate these people. We just want to get the win. So we want to make sure that we can both go train the next day if possible. And so again, he stops the match. But the issue that I have with that match is that the ref never said stop. The competitor said stop. And I think that's a problem, because as competitors, we don't get to decide. You go until the ref says stop. We don't get to decide that. If the ref says go, then you got to go. And again, there have been times where, again, the reffing's a tough job, especially these big events. The ref is always going to piss someone off. But as competitors, we have to play what's given to us. And sometimes we like the calls we're given, sometimes we don't. But nonetheless, we're given those calls, and we got to play the hand that we're given by the ref. And so I didn't like that they gave it to him. I saw the different angles. I watched it multiple times. I didn't think it was a tap. I did not see multiple. I didn't see body language. I didn't see verbal, nothing. Nothing. Like if that was in the gym, I wouldn't think that was a tap. The other controversial one was Gio Martinez. He was against the guy Bilal, and he's going in there, and Bilal puts him in an ankle lock. He turns over, and I saw it from the front, and it looked like a tap. It looked like Gio touched the leg multiple times in the same spot, and he said it wasn't a tap, which again, I trust him. He's a seasoned competitor. I've never seen him do anything like that before, so I don't think he has a reason to lie about it. Maybe his hand just flinched, I don't know. But nonetheless, the ref stopped that one. And so that's it, right? Doesn't matter if you didn't or whatever, your hand was down there, and if the ref said that was it, that was it. I thought that he tapped. I saw some different angles where it was a little sketchy, maybe not quite a tap. I trust Gio. I don't think he tapped, but nonetheless, the ref stopped that match because he thought it was a tap. Handing it back off to you guys for a second. Do you think Gio tapped? Now, here's an idea to chew on. This is something I've been thinking about for a while, right? As jiu-jitsu gets into these bigger stages, the intensity grows, the prize money grows, and just the whole situation grows into a much bigger stage. I wonder, because I remember talking to a high-level judoka, a guy that competed at the world stage, like world championships, the Olympics, so forth, and I remember him, all of which dwarf whatever we have in jiu-jitsu at this point. And he was talking about competing one time and putting someone in his juji, right, his armbar, right? So he's applying the armbar to someone and he's putting pressure on it. And he says that he begins to put so much pressure that the arm starts to crack and break. He's feeling just pops and everything else. His stomach is turning. He said, bro, it was disgusting. Then you're feeling this arm right in front of you. It just doesn't feel good. And he knows he's hurting the guy. He doesn't like it, the whole deal. But he kept going. And I remember asking him, I said, well, why did you keep going? And he said, because the ref didn't stop the match. So I had to keep going. And I remember watching the match later on, and sure enough, he has the armbar. He's pulling it to the side. The other person, I mean, their body language is flailing. You can tell they're wincing in pain. They're tapping multiple times right here. And for whatever reason, I don't know what happened with the ref, but the ref gave it like a 1/1000, like a second and a half before he stepped in to signal, hey, the match is over. And then he let go of the armbar. And I was thinking about some of the matches that I've seen in jiu-jitsu over the last couple of years, right? Where you will see certain people apply submission holds very quickly. They grip them and rip them, just send them home instantly. And a lot of times because of the jiu-jitsu culture, we look at that and frown upon it. We're like, hey man, you got to give someone time to tap. You can't just rip it like that. You're hurting people's knees. You're popping their feet. You're tearing their shoulders, whatever. But again, in say judo, I mean, again, I don't know the situation now, but reading about it and seeing some of the older matches, that's the way that it is. I remember reading Dave Camarillo's book where he was talking about adapting jiu-jitsu to his judo, and he said that when he would go for his flying arm bars that he was very famous for, he would try to break the arm on the way down, because the way that it works is if in judo, and again, I don't know if this is still the case with the rules, but if I pick you up off the ground and you have an arm and you're dangling from me at the bottom, you have to let go, because if I pick you off the ground, the idea is that I could drop you on your head. And so for safety reasons, they don't want him to get slammed on their neck and get hurt badly, so they stop the match and restart. So he said a lot of times he would try to just send it home, break the arm by the time he got to the bottom. And he said in several cases, some of these tough Russian and Eastern European cats wouldn't tap to it, and they would be fighting with a broken arm. And so you couldn't always depend on the tap. And so he said anytime he applied a submission, he was trying to finish it as quickly as possible, which again, for us in jiu-jitsu, goes against our culture. And so I'm wondering if our culture is going to change with that, at least in competition. Obviously in the gym, it has to be more safe because you can't run around just gripping and ripping everybody and destroying your training partners and not having anybody to roll with and, you know, people avoiding you. That's not going to help you get better. But for competition, are we going to get to a point where we just start ripping stuff? And do we need to make it more explicitly clear? Multiple taps, yell tap, wait for the ref to stop the match. Don't stop it on your own because you are the competitor. You don't get to decide. I don't know. These are just questions that I'm asking myself as I watch the first day, getting ready to go back over there for day 2. Excited about it. The event's good. I am going to be doing a full-length podcast on it, and then we'll also be doing some more videos. And again, I just saw this, and it's something I've been thinking about because of the nature of some of the fast versus sort of slowly applied submissions, and seeing that, it's like, huh. Just made me think about the idea of tapping, and I figured I'd bring it up with you guys as an idea to chew on. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments below, whatever this video sparked in you, whatever you want to throw out in the mix. And I'll also put a link down to the actual CJI live stream. I think it'll be up at the time of recording this for till Monday or whatever, then you got to go watch it on Flow. But nonetheless, let me know what you guys think, and maybe I'll see you guys over at the event if you're watching this before day 2. Talk to you next time.